where there's less trees, there's more concrete, there's less spaces for people to congregate, and their health is actually diminished. So part of our work as community composters is to not just do this really powerful work of recycling our food scraps and not impacting our landfills, but we're building social cohesion. So we invite you to participate in this, and it's oddly enough, it feels really intuitive. We're doing silly stuff like sharing worms and things like that, and we joke about it. But our biology is actually designed for this. We're 10 times more bacteria in our cells than we are anything else. So our bacteria in our bodies, I think I shared this with you on the first class, has an interaction with the soil, and that affects our health. So we want to share a little bit about that today with you, about what we've been doing at St. Margaret's and the other projects that we have in the pipes. And some of you have been working on these with me, and the projects are coming up with or without this grant that we just applied for. We're going to do it because it needs to happen. As you all know, we need each other. We just went through this thing called a pandemic. We're still kind of going through it. So we found more than ever that being together is what really is impactful. And that's, in my opinion, the only way we're going to turn the ship around. So would you like to tell a little bit about the work we've been doing and where we're headed?
Yeah, so I'm Prema. I'll just tell you a little story how I grew up in India. It was a beautiful household with my grandparents and 10 chickens and 2 buffaloes, 2 ox and everything. But the one thing, thinking back then, I'm like, oh, I grew up with my grandparents. We never had a trash bin. Everything will go to something at the end that converts into soil. And as I aged, I grew up, and they wanted me to go to city to get some education and get a life out there. Don't be with us, just go away. So they kicked me out totally. And as I entered into the,
And we got
luckily you guys got me. We catch the ball. So as I entered into the city, I saw this big dumpsters. Every household got it, and everything goes into there. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? They call it as waste, but back home in that little village, nobody used the word waste. They always recognized it and said, it's a resource that hasn't served its purposes. It's a resource that got more purpose need to be done till it's go back to the soil. I'm like, Grandpa, why do you say it has to go back to the soil? And he's like, because that's where it came from. Everything came from soil, and we have to give it back to the soil, and in the big picture, it's the Mother Earth. And my grandfather, we eat rice all day, so he grows rice throughout the year. This is a story that I can't forget at all. He used to grow rice, legumes, and vegetables throughout the year as 3 different crops in a single year. And guess what happened when I'm 80 years old? They said, oh, the canals that getting water into our village are drying up because there is a little bit of climate change, political effects. So you guys can't grow 3 crops. You can have only 1 crop, which is rice. Okay, the farmers are devastated, and it's a little village with only 30 farmers or 40 farmers, and they just started growing rice. And the cattle will always go into this field to graze, and they can't go there for the rest of the year because there is nothing to graze on the soil over there. And there comes the next year, my grandfather goes into the field to plant some rice, and he came home and he's so down and he's so sad, and I'm like, what happened? Because I'm the first person. He comes to me at the end of the day, and I'm like, what happened? Oh, our soil is not rich anymore like it used to be when I used to grow 3 crops. As an 80-year-old, these things are like, it's not making any sense to me. But, I moved on with my life. I went to school, I did something, and I forgot about why people are throwing stuff into one bin as I'm doing whatever I need to do. I came here and I started volunteering with Farmers Market, and a good friend of mine said, Prema, we are starting a coalition. Are you interested to join? I'm like, okay. I know a little bit about this, but I wanted to learn more, and all of a sudden, after these many years, why this is so important and people are rushing to it. I joined along with Haley and went to a 5-day, soil stewardship program, and it connected every single dot in my story. Why my grandfather is sad mentally, physically, psychologically, and why the village is diminishing in its wealth, richness, and why the cattle doesn't have some grass to feed on, why the canals are dry, why there is no more 3 crops to grow, why we are becoming poor and poor in the country. And one thing I realized is like, first thing is, my grandfather is illiterate, he doesn't have education, and it's a small isolated village, which means they can talk among themselves. We don't have any technology, so they cannot go out to network with anybody else who are facing the same problem, sit together collectively and discuss and say, hey, I think this can be a solution because we tried it, and why don't you guys try it? And they don't have any technology or anything to use to come up with these obstacles. And luckily we have government programs that gave us fertilizers that did more harm than the good. So now I'm like, oh, I called my grandfather. I haven't seen him in like 8 years. I called him, you know what? I think I found an answer for you. You guys are not talking to each other. I mean, you used to love soil so much. Now you're sad that your soil is not nourishing you, your family, your village anymore. But I think this is what's happening. And he said, thank you for recognizing that, because you know, you're 30 years old, grown-up woman right now. I never thought you were gonna say this to me, but at my age, I'm at a point where I need to sit down and listen to you guys. You know, my grandfather is like, you don't talk to me, I know everything. But now he's like, I'm talking about something that he needs to listen. He's talking to me, he's listening to me. Hey, this is what I found, you know. We used to do this, we just put everything together, like dried leaves, dried straw, chicken poop, manure, and whatever vegetable scraps. We have a technical term for that. That's called compost. You know, you never told me that there is a technical term for that, because he didn't knew any of the research literature were going on. So, I mean, that's my little stories. But we started last November at St. Margaret's. Haley did a really wonderful job talking and getting people together to do this stuff, where I've been like, I'm ready with a pitchfork and a shovel. You do the talking part, you want me to turn the parts, I'm ready here. You know, it's been wonderful journey how we got the community together, just starting with like 2 bins and 2 people. I and Haley and 2 people from the church food bank. And we are growing and growing and growing. Now we are at almost at a capacity where we almost composted 48,000 pounds so far from just this location. And we are doing only once a week. Because they have food bank only once a week, and we are doing it only once a week. And it's been almost, there are like miscalculations where we did not measure something and people just want to come and drop it there. So I would say around 48,000 pounds of material, whether it can be food scraps, wood chips, horse manure, cow manure, we used. So it's been there, and we can see in 1 year time, November 11th is going to be our first anniversary with this location. And imagine if one location serving once a week, and we are composting their material, in 1 year we can do almost 50,000 pounds. Imagine if we have like all the communities have one location for their community, and we've been doing this. You know how much we can compost. And it's not only that. Okay, everybody's asking, what are you doing with that compost? You're making so much of soil. Well, we have a little space where kids are coming and they build a beautiful garden. The high school ecology club came out and the Girl Scouts came out, and they helped them to build some beds and containers where the kids are planting seeds and growing some zucchinis, and they're enjoying it along with their parents, which again providing a community space for people to come together, for children to come together, for equality, for mutuality to happen within the community. And there are no restrictions. We are not saying, there is no anybody can come. Like yesterday, Brianna and I were at coffee shop just talking, and this lady overheard us, and she's like, what are you guys talking about? Can I know more about you guys? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, we gave her a 5 minutes lecture, and she's like, can I get some details so that I can get involved? We are we are not going to the strangers, just we are doing our stuff, and strangers are coming to us.
You'll find that. And and does anybody else think she should speak more often?
More often.
I'll take the pitch more.
Oh my God. So, I will just end this little thing by saying, collectively, let's work for the purpose, not for the product. American economy has been so, so off the tangent, just working for the product, whether it's a paycheck, whether it's a bonus, whether it's a, health insurance that the company is giving, or whatever it is, it's been so product minded. We are working for the product. We stopped thinking about the purpose a long time ago, and it's time again for us to think, okay, what's the purpose? Why am I doing this? And product is a bounty, We are not making compost to grow food. We are making compost to control GHG gases and to, increase water retention in the soil. But we are getting a bountiful product of vegetables, fruits, and everything we are getting. So I think we just need to do work for the purpose. Let's not work for the product. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
George. Thank you,
Okay,
Mike.
last piece.
Do it again.
What are we gonna name our compost pile?
Oh, right. We didn't
Oh, yeah.
decide.
Yeah.
I told them they were all coming, they're all gonna take 1 week and come and turn it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we'll be here.
So we had Felix, Casper,
Popeye.
Popeye,
There was an olive oil out there, wasn't there?
all of them, so
George.
Barney, because it's short and wide.
It's a big life decision.
It is,
Yeah.
Anybody else? Roadrunner.
Okay, raise your hands. Casper?
Oh, it's Halloween. It's Halloween, so.
Oh,
Casper.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Felix?
Ghost pile. All right.
All right, Casper.
I'm gonna go with Casper.
Casper.
Casper it is.
Casper it is. Friendly ghost.
Halloween.
All righty.
One thing